Good morning, happy Sunday, and happy Father's Day to all of you dads out there. I'm getting ready to start my book signing here, my virtual book signing on Facebook, and it doesn't start for another few minutes, so I'm going to be drinking some coffee and getting a few more little things ready here, but I'll talk to you while I'm doing it, and well, and I'll start it here pretty quickly. If I don't answer your questions right away, be patient because, while I'm talking, I kind of get into the zone and I don't always read all the comments. So I will come back later and read your comments if I don't see them already. And just to let you know, the way I'm going to do this, I got a limited amount of stuff to sell here. So it's first come, first served. If you tell me you want to buy something in the comments, what I'm going to do is when I run out, it's first come, first serve. So like if I run out of stuff, like say there's 10 copies of something, the first 10 people to comment will be the ones to get priority. And when I come back and talk to you later, if you change your mind, I'll go to the next person on the list and so on and so on. So it is first come, first serve. I bought all these copies last year, for the 2020 book signings, and that was before COVID hit and all the stuff got canceled. Over the course of the last year and a half, I've managed to piecemeal them out of here, book at a time. I don't have as much as I used to, but I'd like to clear my inventory out, and I can start fresh with some new book signings, hopefully in 2022, which is coming quick. Time flies by fast. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start now. Okay, it's good to see you all. And like I said, happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. I just wanted to go in here and talk about some of my books. This is a virtual book signing, and the way I'm going to do this, it's going to be if you want to buy a book or a set of books or whatever, and then once it's agreed upon, I go through and say, okay, you're the people who are going to buy it. I'll talk to you on Messenger and we'll work out the details. I have PayPal, which is my preferred method, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, this is a set of books called the Targarthian Trilogy. I'm selling these as a set of 3 books. If you already have a couple of them and you want to buy just one, well, we'll see what we can do. But I'm trying to sell these as a set. The Targarthian Trilogy is a sci-fi fantasy trilogy. It's written in the first person. The premise is it's a distant time in the future, and the protagonist is talking about how his life went, which is all these books. He starts off October 2nd, 1998, where he was abducted and taken back in time 500 years to another planet. He finds out that his ancestors are not from Earth, but from another world called Targoth, which is a supposedly dead planet. Everybody tells him that the world's no longer around. When your ancestor Sargus came to Earth in 500 AD, that was the last of it. And throughout time on Earth, the Targarthian race integrated with the human race, and flash forward to 1998. Although he was taken back in time 500 years, it's now 1498 for him. So the Targarthian people have been on Earth for 1,000 years at this point. But, at this point he's trapped in the past, so he becomes what is called a Bactanae. The Archangel Michael created this race right after the fall of Lucifer. And for the better part of a couple 100,000 years, they've been fighting an unending war against the forces of hell. He agrees to undergo this ritual to become a Bactanae because it's 1498. He's going to die of old age anyway before he even gets back to his own time to catch up with his life. They can't put him back into the future. So they pretty much had a supernova star, to create the wormhole. Time travel's not that easy in my books. But anyways, the protagonist goes unnamed for the first decade of his life in the past. And then after 10 years, he's, I'll just say this much. He gets betrayed. He finds out Targoth is still around. He was lied to. And so he very much gives a big middle finger to the Bachtanei. And he goes off to find his Targothian heritage. And he takes the name Sargus after his ancestor. I can't tell you too much about the other two books in the trilogy without spoilers, but I'll try my best. The second book of the trilogy, he himself takes on a protege, a newly made Bachtanei, and after some more, betrayal from people he trusted, he ends up banished from Targoth to Earth. And by this point, the year is 1950. So he's on Earth, he's traveling around alone. He finds the Knights of Targoth, which actually was seeds planted earlier by him in the first book. They're still around after all this time, and they're posing as a motorcycle club that only allows veterans in. He doesn't really want to be involved in it right now because he's down from being, kicked out of his home planet that he loved. But, eventually he hooks back up with the Knights of Targoth, and they have run-ins with the Illuminati and the upcoming cult, the Crimson Death, which is a group of mysterious fallen Bachtanei that are trying to take over the three galaxies. All the wackiness and mayhem that ensues, leads up to him in this book, which takes place, the first book I've written of the trilogy that takes place in the future. It's, I can't remember exact date, it's 2050, somewhere around 2050. Sargus himself has become mortal again. Because of Bachtanei, they don't age. But he's now human again, or Targoth, or mortal again. He's never been fully human. So he's aged at this point. But an old enemy comes back, which leads him to become a Bachtanei once again. And this is the final story of the trilogy. He goes to a far-off, distant galaxy, another dimension. Finally, he meets his destiny once again in the past, where he helps to ensure that his people leave Targoth to begin with in 500 AD. The circle closes. That's the last book of the Targothian trilogy. I'm selling all three of these together as a set for $30. They're thick books. I don't remember the exact page count, but they're all around 350 pages or so. On Amazon, these are $15 a piece, and that's what Amazon makes me charge. I don't have total control. They give you a certain amount you have to charge. And of course, I'm going to up it a little bit because, I'm trying to take a profit here on my royalties. But each book is $15 on Amazon. Together, for me, selling these sets right now, it's only $30, which means they're $10 a piece. And I'll cover shipping for continental US only. I can't afford to cover shipping for international shipments. It's too expensive. I'm sorry, I'll have to charge you more for shipping. But if you're in the continental US, shipping's on me. And I have only 7 sets of these left. So, first come, first served. And it'd be a good series to read because right now I'm working on a companion book because I'm expanding the Targothian saga of my books. Because as you know, all my books are in the same universe, but, each book focuses on a different aspect. Well, this one here, I'm working on a companion book called Targothian Allies and Enemies. All the supporting characters from these 3 books will have a backstory, a short story written about how they got to be where they run into Sargus in these books. That should be coming out. I'm planning on publishing it either at the end of this year or the beginning of 2022. Because I'm still writing the rough draft. I'm almost done with it, but then, you got to go through the editing and through blah, 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 blah. The process takes a while. So anyways, the Targothian, the trilogy, all 3 books, $30 on this only. Because you go on Amazon, you're going to pay more. Another set I'm selling, I got 7 sets, lucky 7, I guess. I have 7 sets of the Folklore series. And this too is only $30. Now I know that's 3 books, this is 4 books. Well, the difference is the Targathian is 15 bucks a piece. These are only 10 bucks a piece. The books are smaller. But, you know, the Folklore series is an anthology series. Each book focuses on a different character or creature from, you know, from folklore. The first book, Red Cap. Red Caps are vicious little dwarves that murder travelers. And I didn't make that up. That's actually from folklore. And they soak their hats in the blood of their victims. That's how they stay alive. If the hat dries out, they die. You know, something silly like that that only a mythology story can have. But I put my own twist on it. The second book is Baba Yaga, a rather infamous witch from Russian folklore. The third book is Incubus. Now, I've suffered from sleep paralysis before. Not as psychotic as you've heard some of the people explain. You know, I've never seen, like, you know, giant shadowy demons and stuff, but I have seen shadows. I've seen weird things moving in the dark, heard noises. Sleep paralysis is kind of a freaky experience. If you've never had it, I hope you don't ever have to experience it. But I took some of my real life experiences with it, and this book is loosely based off of that. Because in my book, Incubus, that's what's causing the sleep paralysis. They like to feed off the life force of the living, and the best way to do that is while they're asleep. If you've ever had sleep paralysis, I'm interested always in talking about that experience with other people too, so you can always message me and talk about that. Krampus, the 4th book of the Folklore series. Krampus, as you may know, the evil version of Santa. He punishes naughty children on Krampusnacht. Well, of course, in my book, I put a little bit of a twist on it. He doesn't look like a big furry demon. He's basically a clone of Santa, but undead looking. You can see the ram horns on his head, and he looks like a zombie Santa. And the person who designed my book cover, there's a little candy cane here stuck in his beard. I thought that was pretty cool. Oh, and by the way, I'm also outlining a 5th book for this. So once I'm done with my Targathian allies and enemies, I'm going to start working on the 5th book of this series about banshees. I've been wanting to do the Banshee book for a while, so I'm finally going to do it. And I have an idea for book 6 about psychopomps, which in Greek mythology, a psychopomp is basically a spirit that guides the recently dead to the afterlife. But I got some theories and ideas I'm going to do for my book on that. But Banshee takes precedence. So, Folklore series, $30. And on the Folklore series, I'm doing a little special as well. When I actually wrote Red Cap it was back in 2016. This was Red Cap. I know you can't really see it too well, but there's an evil little dwarf at the bottom right there, peeking over the top. It's the same book as this. Only difference is this book, I have retconned this story. It became the first book of the Folklore series. Baba Yaga is a side character in this, and I thought, I'll write a whole book about her. Then I thought, well, I can turn it into a series, the Folklore series. Well, then I did a 2nd edition, and that's where I got this cover. But this cover here, I have 7 copies of it left. And for anybody who buys one of my 7 sets of the Folklore series, for $30, I'm throwing this book in for free. Like I said, I've got 7 of these left, and it's out of print. So once it's gone, it's gone. It's worth it to get this just because you get a collector's item out of it. Okay, moving on. And like I said, if I don't answer your questions right away, it's not because I'm ignoring you, because I start getting into a zone talking about my books. I currently have 5 copies left of this. I don't talk about this book much because I just don't think about it much. It's a poetry book. And not just poems, it's got little blurbs and articles in it too that I wrote in high school and in my military career. It's called Yoakum's Collection of Poems and Blurbs. And I know a blurb is not what's in here. A blurb goes on the back of the book, and I know that. But that's just the title of it. Deal with it. It's a small, I call it a coffee table book because it's not that big. It's only $5 on Amazon. So pretty much, with, like I said, I've got 5 of these left. The first 5 people to buy any of my books today, I'll throw in a set of this, or a copy of this for only $1 more. You know, like I said, I got 5 copies, so the first 5 people to respond will get a copy of this for only $1. Unless you don't want it, but you know, I'd like to clear out my inventory. Here's something. I've only got 2 copies left of this. I bought some of these, but I've actually sold them off for the most part. Tales from the Campfire. Now, I can't take credit for publishing this. This was actually published by somebody else. It's a multi-author collection, Tales from the Campfire. I've got one story in here I contributed. It's about black-eyed children. And if you don't know what black-eyed children are, look them up on Google. It's a freaky urban legend. But I wrote a story about it in here. There's 7 stories in this book. And like I said, only 2 copies left. I'm going to have to get more eventually, but these are $5 each. It's a lot more than that on Amazon, so if you want a set of this, $5. But only the first 2 people can get them. And I apologize for not having all my books because I haven't had the funds to buy a lot of extra stuff. These 3 books here, these are my personal copies for my display over there on my desk. So these aren't for sale for me, but if you want to buy them on Amazon, you can. The Daemon Cloak of Hanael. The Daemon Cloak is a shape-shifting cloak that, it looks like a gray cloak. It's just gray, simple, but you put it on, whoever's wearing it, it morphs to look like to the aesthetic taste of that wearer. For the main character in this, it turns into a black leather trench coat. It also sprouts angelic wings, gives the power of flight. No mortal weapon can hurt you while you're wearing this. To make it shoot you in the head, it won't hurt you. But of course, there's supernatural weapons in my book, so it's not going to make you immortal or indestructible. But the cloak also kind of has a mind of its own. It can like sprout tentacles to fight people who are trying to hurt the person wearing it. It creates destructive fire. You know, the Chicago fire. Whoever was wearing it at the time might have caused that, just saying. And it ties in with the Targaryen trilogy, because in the Targaryen trilogy, I got a race of demons called the Nefarium. The Nefarium show up quite prominently in here, alongside the Illuminati. But the premise is, the main character, Angus McMurray, he's trying to keep the cloak out of the hands of a couple of hell lords that are trying to get it. The Order of Hanael has been protecting it since the time after the flood. So it's a nice little tie-in with my trilogy of the Targaryen trilogy, and like I said, all my books are connected. Yoakum's Compendium of Bizarre and Original Stories. Now, back when I was published through Publish America, I had 2 short story books with them. When I got my publishing rights back, I made this. All the stories in here are from my original 2 short story collections. I recommend you don't buy those because I won't get anything for it. I'm just saying. You buy this, I will. It's the same stuff, plus I've added stories in here since. There's stuff about angels versus aliens, the Illuminati, a grocery store in hell, intelligent zombies. You know, it's, and what happened to the colony at Roanoke, which also ties into the Targaryen trilogy, just letting you know. Haunting on the Nobility. At the time I wrote this, I was gonna write a haunted house story, but my wife and I took another cruise. And I thought, you know what, everybody does haunted houses, I'm gonna do haunted cruise ship. And on Royal Caribbean, there's an art auction. So that's kind of inspired the story here. Bill Bauer goes on his first cruise, and while he's looking around, he sees an art auction. He goes to the art gallery. He sees a painting of a very beautiful and familiar woman. And he starts seeing weird stuff around the ship. People in old-timey sailor uniforms, and he says, "Hey, what are they wearing that for?" And people go, "Who are you looking at?" So he's starting to see paranormal stuff that nobody else is. Haunted cruise ship. This is actually one that a lot of people have said they enjoyed. And I loved writing it too because, it brought back memories from a cruise. And that's all I got for right now. So like I said, this live event here is going to last until 2 o'clock. Now, I might take some breaks now and then and get up and leave. Just go ahead and stay logged in. And, like I said, just go ahead and message me too. If you decide that you want to get something, I'll respond as quick as possible. And, like I said, PayPal. Or if you're old school and want to send cash in the mail, I'm good with that too. PayPal's probably better, Lately, I don't really trust the post office all that much. Post office just, And my day job, I work in shipping and receiving, and all across the world, there's been a lot of delays and stuff with small packages. Not just domestically here in the U.S., but I do a lot of international shipping for my work, which is why I know it's expensive and I can't cover it. But, yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff going on right now in the shipping business. I guess COVID isn't fully gone yet. Although, little spoiler in my book, the Yoakumverse is in an alternate reality. And in that reality, COVID went away after a few months. Because I just don't want to write about that crap. That's why I hate these TV shows now where people are wearing their masks because they want to, show the realism. I watch TV and I read books to get away from the real world. I don't really care about people, wearing their mask or not. I don't want it in my books. I don't want it in my movies. That's our escape from the crap world we live in. I'd much rather live in my literary world, full of monsters and angels and time travel. I'd rather deal with that than some of the stupidity that we deal with on our planet right now. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist in the Yoakumverse. I just don't focus on it. For example, I haven't written about them yet, but Ed and Lorraine Warren. I'm a big fan of The Conjuring. I'm a big fan of, anything paranormal. And, the Conjuring movies kind of portray them as, happily married couple, all that happy hickadoodle stuff. But I've heard in real life that things weren't quite that happy. But nobody's perfect. But I like, in my opinion, Ed and Lorraine Warren exist in my books. I just don't write about them. And they're the happy couple that you see in the movies. Because we get a lot of that, we got enough, BS to deal with in real life. Every once in a while, I'd like some, happy closure to stuff. Although a lot of my short stories, there's no happy closure for the characters, but that's different. So I guess that is as real world as all right. As, you think you escape the demon and then it ends up, biting your head off or whatever. Because in real life, that does happen. But I'll say this much for like Haunting on the Nobility. I'm not going to give away the ending, but my original ending actually had a happy ending to it. But as I was writing the last couple of chapters, I remember my mind flowed in a different direction, and I instantly started writing out the ending differently. And I thought, this is better. Now, granted, if Hollywood ever bought the rights to the book and turned it into a movie, they'd probably give some sappy, happy ending. But in real life, that's not how I write. So if anybody has anything, feel free to send me a message, comment, whatever. I've only been on for 20 minutes and this thing has to last until 2 o'clock. Although I can always cut it early, if I decide to. Because I know I probably picked a bad day for this. A lot of people are probably busy right now. All right. Anybody got anything? Bueller? Let me move my phone for a second over here. Okay. Well, I got my Facebook up right now on my laptop too, so I'm hoping in case I don't see any messages down here, I'll see them on here. But mayhap not. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm just going to leave it running. Just sit tight. Hey Jim, how you doing there? Thanks. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get another cup of coffee, and I'm just gonna leave it going. I don't see the need to pause it or anything. And my knee's been bothering me, so I might not be very quick, but I'll try to be back as quick as I can. All right, I'm back. Drank a lot of coffee today, so I had to take a quick little pit stop. All right. So, anybody got any questions, comments about my books, about anything? You want to tell me about my books are awesome, my books suck, whatever you want to say. And like I said, this is a virtual book signing, so for every sale that I get, I'm going to actually autograph the book personally. I always do that, and I never charge extra for the autographs. So, all right. Well, let me do something here. Don't know why it's not doing that. Weird. Anyway, so I can't really tell right now if anybody's actually on here. I saw a few names, but other than Jim there, I don't see any. Okay, I guess nobody's really watching this right now, but you can always come back and watch it later. And I'm planning on uploading this to my YouTube channel as well. If I don't get much response, though, soon, I might go ahead and cut it short instead of lasting it until 2 o'clock. I'll probably have to do this again sometime soon, so maybe more people can show up for it. Because I'd really like to sell some books this year. Clear out my inventory, you know. What it is, I have to buy these myself and then turn around. I bought all these for the book signings of 2020. Like I said, those never happened. So 2021 hasn't really been that much better. You know, Texas is open, but I'm not getting anybody who's agreeing to let me host a book signing. Which is funny because I have a lot of friends on Facebook who live in other states and they're having them. But here in the Dallas area, so far nobody's agreed to it. Just kind of weird. I mean, most of the bookstores, I think they're open, but you have to go do like curbside pickup or something. I'm really hoping to find a venue where I could have an actual book signing, you know, where people show up and buy the book there, and I say hi, you know, try to build a rapport with them, give you some bookmarks. You know, because I like to give away bookmarks with all my books, too. I've got bookmarks with the Crimson Death cover. And then I did this for a book signing years ago. Me and 3 other local authors in the Dallas area. There's a book cover for each one of us on here. And on the back, second annual All Hallows reading, October 13th, 2018. A Galaxy Called Dallas. 1238 Beltline Road, Garland, Texas, 75040. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get the autograph of everybody on these, so they're all autographed by me. Dana Burnworth, Brandon Henry, and John Moody, they didn't actually get a chance to sign these, which would have been cool to have a signature from all 4 of us on here. 2020 would have been the 4th annual All Hallows reading, because we've been doing it for the last couple of years, every October, because we've all been showcasing our books about horror and paranormal, anything Halloween related. But of course, 2020 was a wash. 2021, by rights, should have been the 5th annual. But come October, if we can do the book signing, it'll technically be the 4th annual, even though we skipped a year. But I don't think Half Price Books is going to agree to it again, because that's where I did the 3rd annual in 2019. But nobody really, well, some people came to it. I made a couple of sales, but Half Price Books is a really good venue for a book signing. But like I said, they're not doing it in they didn't do it in 2020, and so far 2021 has been a bust. And it's a shame too, because Half Price Books, you go there to buy books, so it's a good place for it. But I got a funny story about that. It wasn't an All Hallows reading. It was a single book signing I was doing by myself. I want to say it was around 2017. I don't remember the exact date. I should have wrote it down. But I was doing a book signing at Half Price Books. I'm in there. this guy walks up to me. He says, "Hey, are you the author to these books?" And I'm like, "Oh, yes, sir, I am. You want to take a look at one?" "No, thanks. I don't like to read." And they turned around and walked away. It caught me off guard because I'm thinking, why the hell are you in a half-price books if you don't read? And if you don't read, why are you asking me about my books? You know, I guess that means you've hit it big when you got people trolling you for stupid stuff. Maybe instead of banshees in my next folklore, I should write about trolls. Yeah. Nah, I'll just stick to banshees. I don't want to get into the troll thing. But like I said, I guess I'm a somebody now if I got people trolling me. That's really good coffee. All right. It is about, I've been doing this for about a half hour. I'm going to go ahead, I think, and cut it short. I might try it again next weekend. But for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and cut this virtual book signing short. Anybody who is interested in any of the books I talked about, feel free to message me and we'll work it out. But I'm going to go ahead and go now. I hope you all have a great Sunday. Happy Father's Day once again to all you dads out there. And have a good rest of the week.